You're listening to The Shapeshifter Show, powered by SACPCMP, hosted by Yuven Gounden.
Welcome to Shapeshifter, brought to you by the SACPCMP. We have episode 2 of the Construction Mafia. We have two gentlemen in the studio today with us. Mokgema Mongane from CBE, Council for the Built Environment, and the new Registrar at SACPCMP, Mr. Matutle. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You must have heard about this Construction Mafia. And when we talk about mafia, we talk about bloodshed, we talk about weaponry, turf wars. Is it like that, or do you think it's an exaggeration?
Yeah, I think in terms of this concept, this phenomenon, I think firstly, let me begin by just outlining that as CBE,
yes,
we strongly condemn this behavior.
Okay.
So we strongly condemn this behavior where you have this form of intimidation that are happening on site. So it's certainly not something that we support as CBE. So we support the protection of construction workers on site. We also support the protection of our professionals. So it was also highlighted, I think, earlier on that some of our professionals were also being abused, as it were. There's even been cases of killings. So I think that aspect of it certainly links with mafia behavior. Yeah. But I think it's also very much important to highlight as well that it's not all communities that are engaging in this manner. Yes. Some of us do want to participate in peaceful manner, and we support that as government. Okay. But we do not support this violence and intimidation that we see.
Okay. And Mr. Matutle, you'll agree that both SACPCMP and CBE are concerned with the safety of the public. Now, this kind of practice goes against the grain of safety of the public.
Certainly, sir. We also strongly denounce the actions. We understand there's a huge need out there in the communities. People are very much in need. There's an honest, outcry, probably for support by government, yes, particularly in the economically depressed areas. But people are just taking advantage of the situation and bringing things out of proportion and taking the law into their own hands. It's unacceptable. And I think to the extent that it exposes members of the public to violence is unacceptable. And again, to the extent that it also impacts on what we're trying to do, build an asset base for communities, it's unacceptable. And again, it denies the mostly, people who need this work, the most. I.e., one, remember when a site closes, it closes for the local economy in that specific area. People tend to erect their own vendors to sell to their workers. And then again, you deny an opportunity to employment opportunity to people who are living in that community. 3, you also deny economic development of that area in the form of contractors taking on work as subcontractors, because people now fear taking people on board, or they fear, executing work in those specific areas. So it is unacceptable. And again, as the SACPCMP responsible for the construction, health and safety, it is very critical that we see to it that happens, and our professionals are out there as well to ensure that before projects start, these are looked after, are dealt with.
Yes.
And just to add, if you'll allow me now, in terms of the mandate and then the acts that govern CBE along with its 6 councils, you know that CBE and the 6 councils, including SACPCMP, were responsible for the professionals. But one of the key mandate in terms of that is the protection of the public.
Yes.
And clearly this phenomenon goes against that concept. Another mandate of CBE is the protection of the promotion of health and safety within the built environment. Yes. So those are the key mandate and functions that we're supposed to be performing CBE, that this kind of behavior and this phenomenon is actually going against, and that is also from a different angle where we actually want to condemn this kind of behavior.
And Mokgema, the CBE is also focused very much with the other councils on transformation. And by women, an example of women being chased off the site, it goes against the whole transformation process. And it seems like there's this patriarchy even on construction sites. What's your take on that?
Yes, I think with transformation, of course, we also very much interested in the involvement of gender equality. Yes. Even in terms of professionalization, we want to make sure that there's that aspect as well. But with this kind of behavior and this phenomenon, as I said, as government, we do support issues of involvement of local communities.
Yes.
We do support participation. We do support concepts such as LED, local economic development. But there are structured ways in which these things need to unfold and need to take place. These things are regulated. There are ways in which they should be undertaken, such as the 30% allocation as well. So these tools that are brought in by government along with transformation and such matters should not be abused by these local business forums.
Yes.
And we feel that is what is happening in this case, where you have these intimidations and the stoppage of work on site that's taking place. That is certainly not within the spirit of transformation that
Yes.
the government is trying to bring about.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Matutle, if you look at what's happening on these sites, do you think law enforcement is doing enough to protect the people on the construction sites?
At this point, given what has been said earlier on by SACPCMP and others, and BBCBE, we would like to see more. There's
Yes.
less happening, and I think this is why the law enforcement is being engaged through their minister to ensure that they play a major role.
Yes.
At this point, I think there's dissatisfaction that they're not doing enough.
Yes.
It could be as a result of many variables.
Yes.
But of course, they need to do more. It's very much important that the sites are protected. One of the critical things is, remember, the president has been on a international drive to revive our economy.
Yeah.
And you know that the state will be pumping about 400 billion rands over the coming 5 years into infrastructure development. And again, about 100 billion rands over a 10-year period into the city. This is meant to revive the economy. Now, if these kinds of things continue, these incendiarisms continue, the danger is that they threaten that very investment. That investment is meant to impact the livelihoods
Yeah.
of the less fortunate.
Yeah, correct. Mokgema, it's also a responsibility of the people on the site to report these matters. Now, recently there was a case where these invaders, let's call them invaders, went onto a Department of Health site in Pietermaritzburg. And yet there's no record of the Department of Health reporting the matter to the police. What do you think about that?
I think in terms of this matter, in fact, when we come to trying to see how can we resolve this matter, because it was discussed that various voluntary associations have actually taken the matter up all the way to the president as well.
Yes.
And we think this is a matter that needs to be escalated. But I think from CBE's side, in terms of resolving this matter, it would be important to engage the various stakeholders. And firstly, to identify who are these key stakeholders,
Yes.
so that we address it in a holistic manner. And then, of course, the VAs that we're here, they are very important. We have CIDP, one of our sister companies that is responsible for regulating the contractors. That's very important. But we feel that a very important stakeholder as well that we want to engage, and we actually, as CBE, signing an MOU with them in terms of health and safety issues, especially on site, is the Department of Labor.
Yes.
Now, you would know that if you're an engineer or you're a contractor on site, if there's any injury or there's any fatality that happened on site, the first thing that one has to do is to contact the Department of Labor. So they are the ones who record all the incidents that take place on site.
Yeah.
So they're very important. And as well, what happens is that if you have a project that's going to take place, an infrastructure project, it must be registered with the Department of Labor as per the Occupational Health and Safety
Yes.
Act. And there must be an appointment of the health and safety practitioners on site. This is before even the project starts.
Yes.
So we believe that per project, they are very key. They can be very key to help us to make sure that we put systems in place as well to ensure that these kind of activities do not happen. But we feel that they're very important as stakeholder that we don't feel have been involved enough. And as CBE, we are involving with we are engaging in an MOU with them so that we can resolve some of these matters relating to health and safety. So it's very important to have that engagement and clarity as far as a 30% allocation and all of these tools that have been brought by government to try to encourage LED, local economic development. That is how we believe it should be solved, by facilitating this engagement and providing further clarity.
Do you think the CIDP is doing enough, or can they do more?
In terms of CIDP, I think I'll want to shy away from commenting whether they're doing enough or not. We can also have them here to come and discuss this matter.
Yes.
But they have, the legislations that provided as well some transcripts in terms of the details as to how some of these matters should be implemented on the ground. So from that perspective, I believe they've done their fair share. As you can see, this phenomena is very much, there are forums that are engaging this phenomena. It's also very much organized.
Yes.
And it's very difficult then to keep track of all of these matters that are happening. And I don't think that's where I want CBE to act. But I think they've done their part. It's a holistic engagement of all the stakeholders that's required to really get to the crux of this matter.
Okay, we are going to an ad break. We'll be back just now.
Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Podcasting, the practice of using the internet to make digital recordings of broadcasts available for downloading to a computer or mobile device. Or, as they say in South Africa, a fantastic way to tell a good story or to bring your brand to life. To find out more on how podcasting can change your brand, speak to us at brandlive.co.za. brandlive.co.za. We bring your brand to life. You're listening to the Shapeshifter Podcast Show.
Gentlemen, welcome back. Mokgema, I'm going to start with you again. I want you to just clarify this 30% rule, because that seems to be the whole bone of contention in this matter.
Yeah, I think in terms of the 30% rule, it's really an allocation as per the triple PFA that stipulates that 30% of the looking at the total cost of a project will then be allocated to various enterprises, small, medium enterprises that are starting, that could be local, that could be from various women-based, that could be any of these small, medium enterprises that are starting. So that is really what it says. Okay. And really, as was touched on earlier, the responsibility of engaging that and making sure that transpires is still in the main placed on the contractors that are appointed.
Yes. And
actually some would then argue that perhaps that is something that we need to discuss further and unravel further to see how best do we make sure that 30% is indeed allocated to these small, medium enterprises that are upcoming. So that is perhaps the area of contention there.
Yes.
Who is responsible for ensuring that this 30% allocation is implemented appropriately?
Yes.
So that's one of the contention areas that would want to unravel further in that regard.
And that 30% is at the discretion of the contractor. Am I correct?
Precisely.
Yes, because he knows what the needs of what his construction needs are and so on. So the business forum is now dictating exactly who should be allocated at 30%. Is that how it's happening at the moment?
Yeah, I think the problem, as we indicated, is the violence, the indication, the force that is being implemented by this business forum. Yeah. And that is precisely what we're saying we reprimand and we're against.
Yes.
If we have a helpful and fruitful engagement, and even prior to the beginning of the project, involvement of the local councillors, the involvement of the CLOs, and so forth, so that it's addressed properly, then that it shouldn't lead to the violence and the intimidations that we've seen happening in recent years.
Sure. Mr. Matutle, you alluded to professionals behaving professionally on a site. And you also condemn this kind of acts. So can you tell us a little more about a professional environment in the construction industry? Why is it important?
What is important is, one, you ensure that there is safety by, firstly, and remember our professions, the ones that we registered as SACPCMP are overarching. They oversee all other professions on site. This is why we always insist that you must bring safety at the very beginning. And must make sure that our project managers are also at the very start of the project. So it's important that they oversee the site from start to finish. And it's important that there are no disruptions like disruptions that we've seen now by these elements, because that then brings about a lack of safety on sites, and it also threatens livelihoods of people and also actually chases away the very same people who are supposed to oversee that things are done appropriately. And you don't know what happens again. I mean, what will happen is, you start having other things creeping in, and costing the state more in delivering that specific infrastructure.
Yes. And Gregory Mofokeng says that government is not doing enough, client bodies are not doing enough. Would you agree with that point of view? Do you think that government can do a little more?
I think government is doing quite a lot of work. The unfortunate thing is that because of the community situation, there's need out there. And what happens, people tend to want to play out their needs. And again, there's always, a competition of sorts for resources. So you'll find that there are people who are innocently wanting to work, who are in need and who want to do something. And there are those that are taking advantage of that and doing other things. So government is doing its bit, but I think communities must do more. One of the things that I need to emphasize, which we are not saying a lot, is communities themselves are not necessarily exculpated from blame when these things happen. They're inculpated in the sense that they should stand up and begin to raise their voices against this element. And they're the only people who can have, the same thing that happens with community, policing forums.
Yes.
Our own communities must stand up and say, look, we want this asset in our midst, and there is no one who's going to stand in our way of attaining this. We want to benefit from this project, and there is no one who's going to stand in our way of achieving what we want to achieve as a community, and begin to assist government in dealing with this mafia element.
Yes, yes.
And if I can add into that, I think what would also assist is appreciation of the impact of that this phenomena is having, and if the community as well appreciate how it's affecting them personally. I mean, what happens, and if I can take you through just a sequence of events and just the ripple effect of what is happening. So when you have this disruptions taking place, firstly, on site, you would directly have the impact in terms of the stoppage of work. So these infrastructure projects are stopped, so therefore you're going to have delays, and some of them can be stopped even infinitely. And then secondly, you're going to have, if you have some of the vandalism that is taking place, the burning of the structures that are already in place, then you have cost implications. So that's the cost aspect. And then thirdly, of course, if there are injuries and deaths even taking place, then that's also the social aspect that's affecting community members, because some of the labor workers that are working on these constructions come from those communities. So we see how communities are directly impacted as well. And then directly, then obviously service delivery of infrastructure, if this is happening at various places in the country, is then affected. And if infrastructure is affected, that infrastructure is fundamental to the economy. It's really the fundamental building block of the economy at large. And that's how it affects the whole of the country. So we see the ripple effect, both directly and indirectly, of these activities and how it's affecting, in the grand scheme of things, the whole country. And that is the appreciation that we need to have, so that we can collectively try to see how we play our part in trying to resolve this matter.
Yes. How do you think it can be resolved? Do you think more dialogue, better communication? What's your take on that?
Yes, I think, as I already alluded, that firstly we need the identification of the key stakeholders. Yes. And I already said that Department of Labour, I think, is one of the most key stakeholders that we have not involved. And we need to address it from top down and bottom up. So already there's been VAs, and we've also supported the Voice, where they've also, it was stated earlier on here how the various VAs have escalated the matter to the Minister of Finance because of the economic impact. They've escalated it to the Minister of Police because of the criminal aspect, all the way to the President. It was formally escalated as well to the Minister of Department of Public Works. So that's the top down. But from bottom up as well, I think it needs to be addressed per project. And that is why I said the Department of Labour is very important, because they are the ones who say if there's a new construction project, it must be registered with them. They must appoint a safety officer on site. So we can try to see how can we make use of those arrangements that are already in place, as well, to make sure that they also play part to make sure that the sites are secure, they are safe. If we need security, or if we need engagement with the community, trying to address the root cause, as it were. So that will be bottom up and top down. I think holistically we should be addressing it in that fashion. And as CBE, we are prepared to see how we can facilitate the various stakeholders to assist in this manner.
Yeah, in other words, before the project starts,
precisely
how the 30% is going to be broken up and greater dialogue.
And who will be the players, precisely.
Who will be the players.
Yes.
I think that's an important step. Has that not been happening, in your opinion?
I think, in my opinion, this phenomena is not a new phenomenon.
Yes, yes.
I think what is new now is it's more organized now, it's more intensified, and the crime aspect is escalated now.
Yeah.
There's always been places where, if you have experience in the construction industry, where every time there's a project, communities will come there and they'll very humbly and appropriately see if there is anything that they can do to assist. Is there any work they want to make sure that they participate, which I said the government supports that, that formal participation. But what is new is the criminal aspect and now the force that's taking place. And so that is a new aspect of it. And that's why we need to intensify our efforts as well in trying to resolve it.
And if law enforcement has not been playing a pivotal role and has been virtually silent on this matter, then the problem just festers and it grows because now they are law unto themselves.
Precisely. But I think it's very important as well to address it from the root cause.
Yes.
I accept that there's two aspects to it. There are those ones who are genuinely wanting work, their communities and support that. But then there are these organized foreigners that come and their intent is to force and to relight in this violence. Then those ones, yes, we need to declare that those ones might be addressed by the police enforcement because there's a criminal element to it. But the root cause is what we need to address in a more systematic manner, and that's what we need to get to, so that we can see what are the concerns of all of these parties that are engaged and try to resolve those one by one.
Sure. Just closing remarks, Mr. Matutle. Anything else that you want to just add before we close?
And one way of doing this and of trying to resolve the matter, as the SACPCMP, we are hosting this to try and ensure that there's sufficient dialogue amongst all role players. We've also gone out to engage the Minister of Public Works. We've also engaged the Presidency with a view to meeting with them and dealing with this matter. And we're also engaging our VAs to discuss this matter so that at least we've got a common position going forward on this type. And we're talking very closely also with the CBE, which oversees all the councils, to ensure that we reach some kind of common ground on how to deal with this going forward. So I think that the multi-stakeholder engagement will assist in ensuring that we conclude on the matter. But most importantly, to also take communities on board so that they become very impatient with work being interfered with in their respective local areas.
Sure. Mokgema, closing remarks?
No, certainly. I think, yes, what has been highlighted here by Ms. Matutle is very true. We certainly also participate in this as CBE along with our 6 councils. I think we also try to involve the other councils as well, because you see now it's SACPCMP, but we had the VAs also from the engineering side. But we want to also see if we can involve all the other councils as well, because they will also be affected in one way or another to see how we holistically address this matter. But these engagements are part of the way towards the solution, as it were.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining me, and I'm sure this problem will be solved with everybody's efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za